The air in the opulent Ikoi event hall was thick with the scent of lilies and new money. Nkechi Okoro, radiant in ivory lace and a six-figure asoebi, was marrying Kunle Johnson, a man whose smile was as trusting as his family's oil money was secure. Everything was perfect, save for one detail: the VIP table list. Nkechi's mother had nearly fainted when Nkechi insisted on reserving a full table labeled the Gentleman of Yesteryear. This table was solely for Femi, the ambitious banker; Chinedu, the tech visionary; Tunde, the smooth-talking brand strategist; and Obi, the quiet and tense venture capitalist. Nkechi's maid of honor, Ada, watched in horrified silence as Obi, the last one to RSVP, sent a cryptic note. "I wouldn't miss the culmination of your efforts for anything, Nkechi. See you there." The tension coiled tighter than Nkechi's elaborate updo. She simply checked her perfectly manicured nails. "Relax, Ada," she purred, her eyes glinting. "These men are simply here to witness my greatest triumph. Every step of my journey required a specific tool, and they were the sharpest available. Kunle, my dear man, is blissfully oblivious, and that is exactly how we need him to remain for the next few hours. The shock isn't what they will do to me. It's what they will reveal about what I did to them." The four gentlemen of yesteryear arrived exactly as the reception began, walking in a staggered line that managed to seize all attention. Femi, dressed in a sharp navy suit, offered Kunle a handshake that was a little too firm, his eyes lingering on Nkechi for a beat too long. Chinedu followed, casually ignoring the designated VIP table and heading straight for the industrial kitchen entrance, only to be politely rerouted by a nervous security guard. Tunde, ever the showman, flashed a blinding smile, charming the elder relatives who had been whispering about the scandalous guest lists. He knew every auntie's favorite Legos gossip column. Finally, Obi entered, his posture rigid and his eyes calculating. He held a small, unmarked box, which he set down discreetly behind the flower arrangement at his table. Ada intercepted Nkechi moments before she walked down for the official introduction. "Nkechi, Femi looks like he wants to expose a trade secret. Chinedu was texting under the table. Tunde just made your mother-in-law blush, and Obi brought a mysterious, unmarked box. What is going on?" Nkechi laughed, a light, musical sound that didn't quite reach her cold, determined eyes. "They are assembling, Ada. Every piece is now on the board. The asoebi is off. The performance begins with the toast, and it will be unforgettable." The reception was a blur of high-life music and expensive champagne, but the tension around the X table was palpable. Kunle, genuinely in love, gave a rambling, heartfelt speech about Nkechi being his destiny. The traditional best man's toast was sweet but unremarkable, failing to pierce the simmering intrigue that held the room captive. As the MC began wrapping up the speeches, Nkechi dramatically took the microphone, tapping it to silence the excited chatter. She smiled at her husband, a smile that was perhaps a little too wide, and then turned her gaze to the single, infamous table. "My esteemed guests," Nkechi announced, her voice carrying an unusual, businesslike resonance. "Before we proceed to the cutting of the cake, there is one last toast, a very special, unsolicited toast. I invited these four men here today because they are the four most influential people in my life outside of Kunle. And before they were asked to be here, they each, in their own unique way, helped to build the very foundation of my success." A ripple of confused murmurs spread through the hall. Kunle chuckled nervously, assuming it was a sweet nod to past relationships. Nkechi gave a sharp nod to Femi, the banker, who rose slowly, gripping a wine glass that trembled slightly. "Femi," she said into the microphone, "start with the number." Femi cleared his throat, the mic squealing briefly, and the hall fell silent. He looked directly at Kunle, then back to Nkechi, his expression a mixture of profound respect and residual bitterness. Nkechi is right, he began, his voice surprisingly formal. I know this looks scandalous, but my connection to Nkechi was never about the heart. It was about the balance sheet. When Nkechi first approached me 3 years ago, she needed a proof of concept for her idea. She needed a massive seed investment that no Lagos bank would touch. He paused, scanning the shocked faces. I didn't give her my love. I gave her my due diligence expertise and the first 5 million naira secured against my personal assets. She paid it back, with interest, in 4 months. And more importantly, she created a non-traditional equity structure that protected every investor. The secret we share, Femi concluded, setting his glass down, is the original valuation of the idea she called Project Phoenix, a number that is far larger than anyone here, including our naive groom, could possibly imagine. Chinedu, the tech visionary, snatched the mic next, his eyes blazing with a coder's intensity. Femi financed the idea. I built the architecture. We didn't date. We spent 3 months in my garage fueled by suya and desperation, writing the core algorithm. I am not an ex-boyfriend. I am co-founder Alpha. The crowd's murmurs had turned into an excited, electric buzz. Kunle's face was a study in confusion, his smile finally gone, replaced by a deep furrow of alarm. Tunde, the brand strategist, smoothly took the microphone. Let me simplify this, Kunle, Tunde said with practiced ease, his voice perfectly modulated. You see a bride who invited her 4 exes to make a scene. That's what you were meant to see. But the truth is, Nkechi is a master chess player, and we are all her knights and rooks. Tunde explained that his relationship with Nkechi involved an intense 6-month period of market research, brand naming, and creating the public-facing image for their product. She needed the best brand architect in Nigeria to make the concept palatable, desirable, and viral. And my fee was a co-founder's stake in Phoenix Labs, the company name I personally created for her. He stepped back and let Chinedu continue. Tunde created the aesthetic. I defined the utility. Femi provided the funding. The intent of this entire wedding was to bring us, the key stakeholders, to a single location under a scenario guaranteed to create the biggest, most sensational headline of the year. Nkechi needed global attention, but she didn't want to pay for a press conference. She decided to use a scandalous matrimonial spectacle instead. Kunle, look closely at the cake table. Do you see the logo? Every head turned toward the towering 5-tiered wedding cake. On closer inspection, the elegant gold monogram N&K wasn't a standard script. It was cleverly stylized to incorporate a small, sleek, futuristic-looking phoenix icon. The symbol was identical to the one Obi had been guarding on his unmarked box. Obi finally stood, his presence commanding immediate silence. I am not an ex-boyfriend either, he stated flatly. I am the founder of the international venture capital firm Helios Capital, and I am co-founder Delta. He picked up the box he had brought and placed it on the main table. My relationship with Nkechi was the final phase, securing a global investor with a distribution network and political connections in 3 continents. She didn't date us, she auditioned us. Kunle finally found his voice, a raw, bewildered whisper. Nkechi, what is he talking about? Phoenix Labs? What about us? Our marriage? Nkechi took the microphone back, her face suddenly hard, all traces of the blushing bride gone. Kunle, darling, you are a lovely man, and you have served your purpose perfectly. This entire ceremony is a product launch, not a wedding. Femi, Chinedu, Tunde, and Obi are my co-founders and key investors. We are all here to announce the official global release of Phoenix Labs' proprietary financial intelligence application. This wasn't a wedding invitation, Kunle. It was a board meeting disguised as a socialite wedding.
The revelation hung in the air, a silence more deafening than any celebratory gunshot. The scandal had gone from marital betrayal to corporate espionage, but the shock was far grander. Kunle stepped back, wounded and confused, until Nkechi walked toward him, not with pity, but with a sharp, conspiratorial grin. "You think you were betrayed, my love?" she whispered, then spoke clearly into the mic. "Kunle is the only person here who didn't know the full extent of the scheme, but he knew the motive. Kunle is our brilliant, newly appointed head of global security and market strategy. He's a master of perception, which is why he was instrumental in creating the illusion of the perfect, high-profile Nigerian wedding." Obi stepped forward, opening the unmarked box which contained a high-resolution metallic plaque. "Today, we are announcing a successful third-round funding closure, giving Phoenix Labs a pre-market valuation of 8.2 billion naira. Obi dramatically presented the plaque to Nkechi. Nkechi didn't marry a man today. She married her ambition. She needed her four most crucial business partners present for the announcement and a viral, sensational decoy to ensure unprecedented media attention. The goal was to secure every founder and achieve maximum market visibility at zero advertising cost. And that, ladies and gentlemen, she has perfectly achieved.
The crowd erupted, not in anger, but in a wave of awestruck, confused applause. Nkechi, the ultimate architect, stood on the dais, a victor in her self-created spectacle. She finally addressed the room, her voice commanding the final, absolute truth. "Every time I dated one of these brilliant men, I wasn't seeking a life partner. I was seeking a specific, vital skill set: finance, development, branding, and capital injection. Once I extracted the needed expertise and secured their investment, I moved on, keeping them all in place for the endgame." She snapped her fingers. Instantly, the elaborate wedding decor began to shift. The massive floral arrangements were rolled away, revealing LED screens displaying the Phoenix Labs logo, and the tiered wedding cake was lowered, replaced by a presentation podium. Kunle, now standing beside her with a knowing professional smirk, clapped her on the shoulder. The scandalous headline, "Bride Invites All Her Exes," was the cheapest and most effective marketing campaign in history, he stated. Nkechi raised a glass of champagne, toasting the room. "The shock is that I used a Nigerian society wedding, the ultimate symbol of commitment, as a Trojan horse for a business takeover. I got my exes, my capital, my global visibility, and my 8 billion naira valuation. My goal was always dominance, and today I have it." The party continued, no longer a wedding, but the most scandalous and successful tech launch the country had ever seen.